welcome you again. Larry has written what I am absolutely convinced is the most methodical, logical, and rational understanding of this entire issue that I've ever seen. He's got a long and thorough piece. We've got a link to it at MikeHuckabee.com. I want you to read it if you're really interested in a lot more depth than we'll ever have time tonight. Larry, one of the issues that has been discussed, the NRA proposed it. It almost seems like a part of the president's plan, although his is more about armed police officers, resource officers. But you say that if we had teachers who were trained in schools and were armed, they could prevent the kind of shootings, or at least maybe stop them before they get out of hand, like what happened at Sandy Hook. But that scares people, armed teachers. Should they be afraid of that?
No. And when I say armed teachers, I don't mean mandatory arming all teachers, by no means. But most people don't realize that already in the state of Utah, there are armed teachers. Because basically our concealed weapons laws allow the carrying of firearms in schools by, legal people. So if you have a teacher who has a concealed weapons permit, so this is somebody who's volunteered to go through the process and go through the background checks, and they wish to carry a firearm at work, they do so. The gun is concealed. Nobody knows the gun is even there until it has to be produced. And we've been doing this for several years now. And I have people tell me, well, but the teacher's not as trained as a police officer. Well, that's true, but they don't need to be Navy SEALs. They just need to be speed bumps. What we've seen over and over again with these kind of people, these violent mass shooters, is they tend to be operating in a fantasy bubble. And they will attack and they will be hurting people, but then when they get an immediate violent response and some actual resistance, they tend to have that fantasy bubble burst, and then they will usually either kill themselves or surrender. Now, if the police are your immediate violent response, a lot of times that's going to be, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that bad guy can be there shooting people. If you have armed teachers or a principal or a school bus driver or a janitor, whatever it may be, just a person with a concealed weapons permit, a parent that's visiting, those people can respond immediately. Worst case scenario, the bad guy is going to be concentrating on killing them instead of the children, and that will at least buy more time. So it's just installing speed bumps is what I'm proposing.
What's wrong with gun-free zones? That seems to be one of the big solutions that people think ought to work.
They just don't work. People think of gun-free zones like, I put up a sign that says no guns allowed, but think about it. You're a mass killer. You're looking to become the most famous person in the world. So you're going to go to a place where you can get that body count, and then everyone in the media is going to talk about you for weeks. The President of the United States will stop and have a press conference to try to understand you. And you're going to go to the place with all the victims. Where can you go that you won't face an immediate violent response? A gun-free zone. And what we've seen over and over and over for decades now is almost all of our mass shootings have taken place in these supposed gun-free zones. Just without fail. People tend to think of this sign that says no guns allowed. It's not a cross that wards off vampires. Bad guys are going to look at that and say, ooh, this is a hunting preserve of innocent people. I can go in there. I'm going to have plenty of time to work. The shooter at the Batman movie, he went to a theater that was posted no guns allowed. Here locally, we had a shooting a few years ago. He went to a mall that was posted no guns allowed. We see this over and over and over again. They just simply don't work.
Larry, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your response and being here. And again, I want to point people to your article. I hope that they will get to know more about you, because I think if they do, they'll understand this issue in a very thoughtful and a rational way, something that we're missing in the entire debate. Larry Correia, thank you so much for being here.